Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Nick from the New Technology. Today we're going to be talking about hard drives. They've been around since a millennia, since the beginning of the computers. And what I wanted to cover today is which one would suit you. So there's three types that come to mind when I think about it: a hard disk drive, a solid state drive, and an NVMe drive. So what's the difference? So a hard disk drive has a disk. So in here, there's a disk. Well, multiple disks actually. It runs off of a SATA interface, and also depending on when the era is. Hard disk drives are good for multi-storage. For example, I have a NAS that's on the side of me, and this is a 1 TB drive that's used for NAS running RAID, believe 1. Then we have your regular computer drives that you just plug in and play, which could be loading your operating system, external storage, or anything else that you want to do. Like, for example, right here I have a CCTV system that could be storing all of my most prized possessions about my house. So the benefit of using a hard disk drive is because of the storage, and there's also some disadvantages as well. The benefit of a hard disk drive is you could go massive. Like with some of these things, you can go up to 16 terabytes, 20 terabytes, etc. And there's a video out there that goes up to 1 petabyte of a petabyte server, minus tech. Anyway, but for example, this is an older one, pulled from a Dell Dimension, and was running Windows XP, so it's not going to be 30,000 gigabytes and anything. It's 80 gigabytes. And back in the time before solid state came out, or NVMe, because NVMe came out in 2012, and solid state been around for a while. I don't know the exact date to tell you, but they've been around for a decent amount. So the way that a hard disk drive works is there's a wafer inside, and there's a little etcher. You think of a record player, and that's what you call a read and a write. It's very straightforward. Reading is reading the information that's on this disk that gets passed through a cable into the computer in order to compute it on the motherboard right there. And then writing is when the computer is actually writing stuff to that drive. So with hard disk drive, there's a little bit of a disadvantage when it comes to that, because these times are going to be a little bit slower. The read-write times are going to be a little bit slower because it's a wafer. Moving on to our next thing is a solid-state drive. I unfortunately do not have one on hand to show you right now. I do have one here. I just could not find it in time. But a solid-state drive it does not have a wafer. So in here, you have a wafer. It does not. It uses solid-state and memory banks in order to store your information and data. It has the same concept. Every single one of these drives I believe back here, I have a drive that's from 1998. Everything back from 1998 to 2022 has the same concept of reading and writing. That's the purpose of storage, because if I put something in a closet, it's going to stay in that closet until I want to bring it back out. So reading would be looking what's in the closet and then bringing it back out. Writing would be putting that item back into a closet. So back to the solid state concept. Solid state does not rely off of wafers, but it relies off of memory banks and electronics that are not as rudimentary. So for example, we have an NVMe drive right here. NVMe, if you see right here, you have let me turn my light. You see right here how we have little drives right there? So that's going to be storing your information, versus on one of these hard drives right here, it's not. Because remember, as I said before, it's going to contain that wafer. However, this is going to be using electronics. So this is a PCI NVMe M.2. This goes directly, I have this motherboard right here from an older Lenovo. This goes directly into the motherboard right here. So you're not going to have a SATA you are going to have a SATA interface, but it's going to be relying off a PCI and not just straight SATA. So you see right here how it slots right in. It just goes right onto the motherboard. If I can plug it in right. Anyway, moving on. So versus the older types of motherboards, like I have right here, this is pulled from an old Dell Dimension. Part of the mess. Where's the SATA connector on here? It uses an older fashioned SATA connector right here that goes directly into it with a SATA connector, which plugs into your hard drive, versus the NVMe, which goes directly onto your motherboard. SSD does that too. It relies off of a SATA interface as well, and it does help you in doing that because it's a little bit faster than the rudimentary of said hard drive. So, for gaming, I've gotten this question asked a lot, not on this channel at all because my channel's dead and dying, but I've been asked a lot, what do you prefer for gaming? Hard disk drive, solid state, or NVMe? Obviously, I gotta say NVMe because it's directly onto the motherboard and it's gonna be a lot faster with the read and the write because it's a little bit more modern, so to say. But if we're talking about photos, videos, and storage, I would definitely go with either a solid state or a hard disk drive. That's not to say that they're not going to be intertwined or be able to use back and forth, because back in, say, early 2013, you could use a solid state. NVMe was recently released by then, and you could use a hard disk drive. Like, for example, older games, like if we're going way, I don't want to say way back, as it was really recently, 1998, when you had drives that were probably about this big, probably about this thick, and that were plugged into computers, and they were able to basically run types of games. Now we know that we have like 30 gigabytes of games now, or 128, like DCS is, oh lord, I think over 125 gigabytes. That's not including the mods and everything, in order to be installed, versus other games were in kilobytes. Yes, kilobytes. So technology has progressed a lot. So when it comes to what you're doing, it all depends on what you're doing. If you're going to be storing videos on, say, a NAS like this right here, if you're going to be doing that on a NAS, you're not going to need NVMe unless you're doing some 4K, you want a balls to the walls YouTube channel. No, you can put four 1 terabytes running RAID. Okay, you'll have your data there. It may take a little bit longer, granted, but you're not going to be needing it immediately. But if you are, you'll either go with the solid state route or the NVMe route. It's quite simple in concept, and a lot of people don't know how to differentiate between the two because they're like, oh, storage, it's always this, it's always this, it's always the hard drive, it's always the little disk and the wafers and everything like that. So I wanted to make this video in order to clarify on what is what. So my knowledge of technology has been spanned for 3 years now, and I'm really glad that I could be able to share it with you, and hopefully I will see you on the next video. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. I hope I can help you all in the best way possible, and check out the other videos that are on my channel. Enjoy and have a great day.